Well, Biden looks like he is outdoing himself because my man just announced the end to U.S. support for Saudi-led offensive in Yemen, aka the Yemen genocide. This has been an issue that's been deeply, it's meant a lot to me. And I guess the reason why the Yemen genocide has meant a lot to me the past few years is it's just very sad to see how our foreign policy is right now, where we're literally sending American troops off to die in illegal and offensive wars, all for the sake of making money for the military industrial complex. I don't think that's right. I think the fact that we have killed over 100,000, have helped Saudi Arabia kill hundreds of thousands of Yemenis, Yemen people. And I don't know how you, well, I don't know what the, I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. The people of Yemen, 100,000 people in Yemen, citizens of Yemen, have been killed unnecessarily. And there was no need for it. There was no need for it. Saudi Arabia, they just have different, I think, yeah, Saudi Arabia is Sunni, Yemen is Houthi, and the Sunnis are extremely radical. And in fact, Saudi Arabia has, what have we been doing with Saudi Arabia? We've been backing them up despite them funding legit terrorism. Like, they fund jihad. So the fact that we've been helping them kill massive amounts of people, the fact that we've been selling Saudi Arabia hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons as they've been committing this shit is insane. So let's read this article real quick. We're not going to go through the whole thing because it's a big article, but I'm going to put the link in for you guys to read it. But this is big news. Joe Biden has announced an end to U.S. support for Saudi-led offensive operations in Yemen as part of the broad reshaping of American policy. In his first foreign policy speech as president, Biden signaled that the U.S. would no longer be an unquestioning ally to the Gulf monarchies, announced a more than eightfold increase in the number of refugees the country would accept, and declared that the days of a U.S. president rolling over for Vladimir Putin were over. Okay, I don't know what that means. Trump definitely wasn't shilling for Putin, but whatever. America is back, Biden declared in remarks delivered at the State Department, capping a whiplash fortnight of dramatic foreign policy changes since his January 20th inauguration. Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy. Well, yes and no. I mean, guys, let's not forget that this is Biden we're talking about. The guy who was under Obama, who was bombing 8 countries illegally and offensively. So, what scares me about this is, not scary. I mean, I kind of figured they would do something like this, but what I find sketchy about this is, he was under Obama. So I don't know what his plans are for the other 7 countries we're bombing right now. But if it's not getting out, then he's basically just using this as something for people like me and you who actually follow this shit and actually, know what's going on and just didn't get their information only during their little Democratic primaries and listening to them that way. He's trying to appeal to people like you and me who actually know what's going on. But, as much as I really like that this is over, and I love that this is over, and we have to give him credit for it, when you think about the standards of your typical president, we can't really expect too much. There's a very low bar for presidents. All presidents are war criminals and traitors. So when they do end, some unnecessary wars and battles here and there, they should be praised. But let's also not forget that war is bad and war is immoral, especially when it was, especially when you're only doing it to make people money. And this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So where were we? Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy. That's where we're at. Okay. So Biden said the conflict in Yemen, which has killed more than 100,000 Yemenis or Yemeni and displaced 8 million, had created a humanitarian strategic catastrophe, which is true because 83% of Yemens need humanitarian assistance, and 100,000 Yemenis or Yemeni, or I don't know how you say it, but that is right. Over 100,000 of them have died. In 2015 alone, there was like over 100. I think it was like 105 or 111, something like that, something really bad. But they targeted 105 to 110 mosques and hospitals. Can you? That's horrible. Can you really even say anything about that? So yes, this has been happening, and on top of that, it has been the United States has been fueling the planes and have been selling the weapons that have been in the planes that the Saudis have been using to bomb and just destroy Yemen the past 5 years. So yeah, this is accurate. And you had 10 every 10 minutes a Yemeni child dies of malnutrition over there because of this war. The statistics and data on this is disgusting. This is a genocide. This is truly a genocide. There is no war. They'll tell you it's a war. Within 5 years, they've managed to kill 100,000 people. That's insane. Created a humanitarian strategic catastrophe. This war has to end, says Biden. And to underscore our commitment, we're ending all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales. Yes. Nice, Biden. Okay, that's good. That's really good. We sold them hundreds of $billions worth of arms deals. A country, and you guys have to understand, we prop 73% of the world's dictatorships. This isn't just Saudi Arabia. We prop 73% of the world's dictatorships, and then we're talking about all these wars being for democracy and liberty. No, bullshit. They lied to you. It's all for the money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. The billionaire class doesn't give a fuck how they make their billions as long as they're making them. War has always been a racket. No pun intended. R.I.P. Smedley Butler. But no, war has always been a racket. And they finally have figured out how they can profit off of our literal deaths within these wars. And Dwight Eisenhower tried to warn us about this, and they managed to seclude us in the knowledge of this war. However, he said the U.S. would continue to provide defensive support to Saudi Arabia against the missile drone attacks from Iranian-backed forces. Of course. U.S. forces will also continue operations against Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Um, also, yeah, having an offensive foreign policy does not make us safer. In fact, it does the complete opposite. The CIA causes blowback. You go into another country, you occupy it, and then you start committing war crimes. You start committing crimes against humanity. When you're bombing civilians, killing children, raping women and children, blowing up their mosques, these are kind of the things that radicalize people, don't you think? Um, you're going to be making more enemies than you can kill. That's what happened to us in Iraq. And the results were disastrous. The Taliban have more territory than they did before we even invaded right now. There's terrorism has only gotten worse because we're not actually tackling the terrorist problem. We're just taking resources and getting geopolitical power. What we're doing is not helping terrorism. If anything, it's radicalizing more people. And I mean, that's nature. What would you do if some foreign military came to your city, started bombing, going to houses, killing your family, your loved ones, your children? How do you think your response would be if you found out that your best friend for 10 years has been murdered violently inside a drone strike? Not even to mention your country didn't even attack them, and now they're just coming in to steal your resources, to kill your people and loved ones. Yeah, of course you're gonna be radicalized. That's that should be common sense. But what I find extremely fascinating by our pro-war fellow Americans is that they can't even think about or can't even fathom the idea of the shoe being on the other foot, because they're in the United States. They're the world's great. They live in a country where we are the world's greatest power. So how could they fathom an idea where we're getting our asses kicked and we're getting our people killed by a foreign military? I get that. But we have to have some type of compassion, man. War should always be the last option, not the first. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In order to rebuild American moral leadership, Biden said he would also restore the U.S. refugee program and announce an executive order that would raise the number of refugees accepted into the U.S. in that fiscal year of the Biden-Harris administration to 125,000. That is higher than the 110,000 accepted in the last year of the Obama administration, which had dwindled to less than 15,000 in the Trump administration. This is really good. This is good too. We owe them. All the country. I do like the idea of a refugee program and bringing in people who have been personally affected by our wars, and our proxy wars. So I like this idea. Of course, Donald Trump lowered it massively. Yikes. Um, I mean, immigration, it would help with our GDP. It would increase job growth. So I don't see why not. We have a moral obligation to do this anyway, seeing that a lot of these people have been affected by us. But at the same breath, bringing in more immigrants is all economists agree. It's an economic boom if you bring in more immigrants. Because when you have more people, they have more demands and goods for services, which creates more jobs and possible wage growth. As Biden was speaking, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement announced it had canceled a deportation flight to Cameroonian and Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank God. While it conducted an investigation into allegations of abuse by ICE agents against the deportees. The announcement marked a significant change of approach since the Senate confirmation of a new Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. I'm pretty sure I destroyed his last name, but that's fine. um, no, that's good. That's really good. ICE agents, ICE. I'm 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 more on the side of abolishing them. Only because I don't think that it's a smart idea economically, and I don't think it's a moral. I don't think it's moral to take people out of this country. People who have been here for 10 to 20 years. It just ruins the economy. And hold on. So yeah, refugees are important. The United States moral leadership on refugee issues was a point of bipartisan consensus for many U.S. decades when I first got here. Biden said, "We shine the lamp of liberty on oppressed people. We're offering safe havens for those fleeing violence or persecution, and our example pushed other nations to open their doors as well." The distancing of Washington from Riyadh, I guess, is one of the most conspicuous reversals of Donald Trump's agenda, but it also marks a break with the policies pursued by Barack Obama, who had that. Good morning. Donald Trump's agenda, but it also marks a break with the policies pursued by Barack Obama, who had backed the Saudi offensive in Yemen. Although he later sought to impose constraints on its air war. A bipartisan majority in Congress had previously voted to cut off support for the Saudi campaign, citing the civilian death toll and the murder of the Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. But Trump used his veto to block the move. Yikes. You guys remember that? The farm bill? When they made hemp legal, they put in a provision where we could no longer talk about ending the Yemen genocide within that bill. So it was pretty slimy, and it was pretty disgusting that they would do something like that. But you know what? He vetoed it. He vetoed it, and that's what they did. And I still remember that. The U.S. will also freeze arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Guys, that's amazing. Now let's worry about the other dictatorships we're arming. and name a special envoy to Yemen to put more pressure on the Saudis and Emiratis and the Houthi forces they are fighting to make a lasting peace agreement. How you doing? "We have spoken with both senior officials in the UAE and senior officials in Saudi Arabia," said the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan before the speech. "We are pursuing a policy of no surprises when it comes to these types of actions." Trump and his Secretary of State Mike Pompeo treated Saudi Arabia and its crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as a major ally in their campaign to cripple Iran. Iran did nothing to us, guys. Don't let them listen. Don't let them lie to you. Iran did nothing to us. They'll say they attacked us in Iraq. Where's the proof? They said that Soleimani was planning an attack against us. Where was the proof? All of this shit was speculation and had no data or evidence to back it up whatsoever. Iran has never tried anything with us. We've tried things with them though. We installed we installed the Shah in 1953 and had the CIA topple their government, which led to them getting lower prices and oil, what have you. But it blew back on them, and there was the revolution in '79, and there you go. So that's what happens when we go to war illegally and offensively and for profit, and usually blows back on us. Tony Blinken. A lot of this stuff, this article, a lot of it's very informative. Definitely. There are some things I didn't know, some things I already knew. Pompeo's success for 20. You know what? You guys get the gist. I don't. This is a long article, so I don't want to bore you. But I just needed to share this news with you guys because this is very, very important news. I would like to see a world where we cut military spending by 65%, end all the wars and the Afghanistan war, and bring our troops home. And, you know, clearly with that huge military cut and with no wars going on, the U.S. military, the U.S. military will be focusing more on things here at home as well as things abroad. Um, that's the way I think it would work if we cut the spending and we cut the wars. And, you know, a lot of these people, I would like to think many troops would come home and come back to the civilian life and, you know, contribute what they've learned in the army or navy or what have you, or the military in general. Contribute whatever they learned in the military. And, you know, live productive civilian lives. I would like to think, you know, a good amount of people would do that if we had the policy that I wanted. But yeah, this is really good, guys. Really great news. Just just remember, we have to praise Biden for the good things he does do, and we have to go after him massively for the things he's going to be handicapped to, because we can no longer have a system where we're literally killing over 100,000 people for profit, just to make people billions of dollars. That's insane, and it just does not make us safe. And overall, these wars have never made us more safe. And the government, as these wars and the war on terrorism have continued, the government is basically violating our rights, have used the scary war on terror to violate our Fourth Amendment rights, the Constitution in general, the Bill of Rights in general. So keep this in mind. Be happy when Biden does good stuff, but also be pissed when he doesn't. We have to go after the establishment, and we can no longer make excuses.